excited to talk a little bit about some of the enhanced data we have around skills-based pay today. So there's a lot of content around skills-based pay, a lot of different philosophies on it, a lot of things we could discuss. Really fill a whole webinar. I think we have done webinars on skills-based pay in the past. But what we'll be focusing on specifically today is helping to understand situations where certain skills, if required, might actually dramatically impact the value of a job when it comes to kind of an internal analysis, and most importantly, how much you need to pay to be competitive for a certain role. So that's what we'll get into here today. And I will jump out of our slide deck here, jump into CompAnalyst. So if anyone has used CompAnalyst Market Data, I think a lot of folks on the call are probably CompAnalyst Market Data customers. You may be aware that within this data set, for any job that you're working with, if I were to look at like a HR generalist, for example, we've always been able to provide you some kind of pay adjustments for jobs within this tool. So if I'm looking at an HR generalist 2, I wanted to come in and adjust some of the pricing factors here. This is where I could come in and see the specific skills that are kind of built into this job. And if having these skills is really just sort of assumed for this type of position, and also start to add in other skills to see if there would be an impact on pay. So you could see other skills that might be relevant for these types of roles. We could see some of our basics like training evaluation, HRIS, things you might expect. We are showing that like compensation management is especially hot right now. Things like employment law are hot. Talk about that a bit more in a moment. But if we wanted to say, hey, for this role, it's actually really important that they are focusing on like training and development. We can apply that. We can recalculate this job to see if there is an adjustment that's built in for this. So as we focus in on this training and development skill within this role, we can see that there is actually a bit of a premium associated with that from the market data. So historically, that has been based on survey data that we're collecting. For folks who've used this, they probably know CompAnalyst Market Data is based exclusively on hundreds of HR reported surveys that we buy. It's also been based off of some of our general big data analysis and some of our consultants' work and just some curation of these adjustments that we maintain. However, what we've recently layered on is the ability to see this data in more of a kind of real-time market intelligence capacity. And that is where we start to layer in CompAnalyst Market Data Max. So some of you might be already using CompAnalyst Market Data Max. Some of you might not. But essentially, when we talk about the Max version of CompAnalyst Market Data, that's where we start to layer in our real-time intelligence from our data set called Salary IQ. And Salary IQ goes out to the market every single day. It goes to the web and pulls down every single job posting it can find across 46 countries. So it's a pretty broad set of data. We're processing millions of postings on a daily basis. And it allows us to get some really nice kind of real-time trend information on not only what pay ranges are companies posting for, but also do some more analysis on their skills, things like that too. So right from this page, if I'm using CompAnalyst Market Data Max here, I could start to see our skills appear. So this is showing some skill demand. It's giving us some more in-depth insights here to see, hey, which skills tend to be the most in demand across job postings for this role. And we are using AI to do some benchmarking of these jobs. So again, there are lots of different names for an HR generalist. It could be an HR coordinator, HR associate. It could be any number of different roles. But in this case, we're using our AI tools to make sure it's kind of a one-to-one match. So we can see here that benefit programs are holding pretty steady as one of the top kind of outside skills that's baked into this role. We could see that jobs that have this skill built into it correlate to about a 3.3% increase in pay. And we can see some of these hotter jobs like employment law, talent acquisition, compensation management, where demand might not be quite as high, some of these areas like benefit programs, but we are seeing that jobs that require these or explicitly call these skills out tend to correlate to higher pay as well. So if we have a role where it's really heavily focused on employment law, really heavily focused on like compensation management, for example, we can see that these correlate to pretty significant increases in pay. And that doesn't mean, again, it's an HR generalist, so there's probably going to be some overlap across, all of these types of things in general. But if for jobs that really explicitly call out compensation management as a feature, we could add this into our job and see what type of impact that would have. So in this case, if we're looking at our market data from CompAnalyst, this is just national average data to start with here, but you could see our kind of our skills adjustments baked in below, and you can see kind of the impact of the skills on this role. So we can go a lot deeper with this analysis, which we'll touch on in just a moment. But if you want just kind of that quick view of any premiums associated with skills, I can give you a nice sense for what's in demand and if there is, kind of a tangible increase in pay that we can track across the market data. That's what we can view here. We can always jump into Salary IQ as well to get into more depth. And Salary IQ, again, is our data set where we're going out and we're going out and scraping millions of job postings every day from job boards, company career pages, just about anywhere that they exist online, and prioritizing company career pages as the source of truth. But if I wanted to jump into this side of the tool and say we're searching for like an HR generalist position here across the US, we could see there's as of today, about 1,400 live HR generalist postings across the US. And the system's actually reading through all of those postings and saying, great, hey, jobs with this keyword tend to match to CompAnalyst Market Data's HR generalist too. And if we want to, we could search based on that job description so that we're pulling back alternate job titles like people and culture coordinator or other things where it might functionally be the same job, but the titles might vary. So we'll do that. I'm going to search across Salary.com's hometown here, look at Boston. Again, I'm just looking within the US right now, but we do offer this data across 46 countries today. And we'll pull back these HR generalist jobs that match back to that kind of posting description across the Boston area. So it's just gathering all of that for me. And we can see for this kind of intermediate level HR generalist 2, we can see the job description that we're using to gather these job postings as a match. We can see the confidence level for how confident we feel that these jobs align to that role. See some other cool data points on like posting volume, posting duration, trending data over time on how the pay ranges tend to vary over the last year or so. And then, of course, we'll be able to see the top companies hiring for these roles and the highly compensated skills. So this is kind of neat because we could really start to adjust our sample size here. And we're able to see, again, as we start to adjust and maybe look at specific peers, build out maybe peer groups of organizations or zoom in on specific companies, get a better sense of how this picture changes. And of course, if we're thinking about just looking at the pay range data in general, this is where we could see what ABM Industries is posting for this HR business partner role or this human resources coordinator. Our tool has kind of mapped back and said those from a comp perspective really map back to the generalist position. You could see, hey, here's the full description. We could get in and see some context around that pay data, context around the skills. And we'll also call out the specific skills that we have tagged in these descriptions as well. So it can give you a nice quick view. Again, if you wanted to just search for specific companies or build up peer groups, this is a great place to really say, I want to compare it to maybe our top 5 competitors, and that's it. And then some other cool points we'll have on skills here are being able to provide some descriptions. These skills do map back to our comprehensive skills library, where we have a lot more in-depth data. We give you kind of a preview of that here with things like interview questions and just giving you a better understanding of what these roles typically look like. So lots to explore when we think about real-time data around skills. There's even more we could talk about with skills content, but hopefully this is a helpful introduction or review of some of the skills-based pay components and research tools that we have within our system.